What's up everyone and welcome back. Today I thought we'd do something a little bit different and look at some problems on the internet. So I was browsing Stack Exchange today and saw a Google Sheets problem that I thought was a really good question, a really good problem, and that we could definitely tackle it and answer it. So let's take a look at that question, let's dig into it, and maybe it'll help you solve something that you have going on in your project. Alright, so the question here that we're looking at is, how do I set conditional formatting based on matching from a list on another sheet in Google Sheets? So the whole question's a little bit long, and I'll just break it down for everyone. So what we're actually looking to do here is this person has a list of options that they want to be able to activate by checking a checkbox on one sheet, and on another sheet they want to identify which of those items were checked off and highlight them using conditional formatting. So the conditional format is basically, did I check it off on this list? And if so, I want it to highlight green as they've shown here in this image. So the way I broke this down was there's actually three components to this. One being, how do you use conditional formatting from one sheet to another? Because the conditional formatting UI doesn't let you do that natively. The second is, how do you actually overcome or combine the checkbox to look up against this value? So if it's checked, you know that you want the condition to look at this value, not the actual checkbox, which we'll go into a little more detail about. And the third being, what does the conditional formatting formula actually have to look like to identify that something on one range matches your active range. So I've replicated his images on a sheet, so let's hop over to that and check out how I solved it. Okay, so in our Google spreadsheet here we have two sheets. The first sheet just shows us that double list of items and options that they had in their question. And the second sheet is their checkbox list of options and whether they're activated or not. So let's actually start with exploring this piece of the puzzle, that is, how do I know which ones are activated based on these checkboxes? And the reason for that is because what we want is a shorter dynamic list of the things we've checked off to more easily use the conditional formatting to look against. Because it would be more complicated in one formula to say, what did I check off and what's that option, and trigger your conditional formatting off of that, rather than just having this dynamic list. So to do that, it's really easy, and the formula is sitting right here. So what we can do is, in another section or right next to it in this case, we're going to put a formula here that says filter, and what we're doing here is filtering this list based on a condition. So what we want to filter is this A2 column, and we are going to filter it by if the second column, B, is true, and the true is the trigger of the checkbox if there's a check in it. So if we just type true in there and we close that up, what this is going to do is show you a list of the things that you checked off. So if we uncheck something, that falls off the list. If we check it back, it comes back on. If we check more things, they appear on the list. So the idea here is that this is actually our master list that we're going to look up on to check if something is true for the conditional formatting to work. So that's one piece of it. So for the next part of this, let's look at how to make the conditional formatting actually look at a different sheet. And the reason why this is a problem is because the conditional formatting doesn't actually like to look at different sheets natively. So if we take this column B, and we know we want to highlight it if it matches that list we just made, let's go down to custom formula, and let's just try doing something basic. So we can see it's not letting us do that. It doesn't like it. It doesn't matter if we format this differently, the sheet section, the quotes, or anything like that. It doesn't want to look up against a different sheet. So to solve that, what we actually want to do is use the indirect function. What the indirect function does is it allows you to type in a cell reference as text. So the conditional formatting will actually parse that into the formula correctly without considering that it has to do some active lookup on another sheet. So the example here is, if we do indirect and we type this as text, so quote sheet 2 exclamation C2C, close that, quote, and close the parenthesis, and we hit enter, we see that we get the list of things that we have on sheet 2 in C. So if I click a different one, B shows up here, B now shows up here. So it's completely dynamic, but it's all nested in a single formula. So that's the trick to linking the sheets in the conditional formatting. So let's take this formula and try it out. We'll highlight column B. We will format conditionally. Custom formula. Let's throw an equal and paste that formula in there. And we'll change the range to not include that header. And we'll hit done. And what we see now is it highlights the cells that match our list that we've checked off on the other page. So let's see what we checked off to validate. A, B, D, F, H. A, B, F, D. So we don't have any H's there, that's fine. We've already done the same in column C, so you can see now on 2 separate columns how you can highlight one or the other independently if that specific cell has that. So that is pretty much all there is to it. The indirect function is what's going to help you connect that conditional formatting between different sheets. But in this example, the key of it was really creating that dynamic list of the things that you selected true to more easily key off of for that conditional formatting. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you had a good time watching this. If you have any questions about Google Sheets and you want to see if I can answer them, leave a comment in the description, and we'll see you next time.